The massive doors of the war chamber opened with a deep rumble. Steam poured out from the heated room where 12 different alien species had gathered. The air smelled of metal, strange chemicals, and fear. This was Harmony Prime, the biggest space station in known space, and today it hosted the most important meeting in galactic history. The Void Swarm was coming. Everyone knew it. The black ships had already destroyed 3 star systems, turning planets into empty rocks floating in space. Now the galaxy's strongest species had come together to plan their defense. But as each group entered the war chamber, they brought their weapons with them. Veltaran, the Korthak war chief, walked in first. His red scales gleamed under the bright lights. In his forearms, he carried plasma spears that could cut through solid steel. Behind him, 6 more Korthak warriors followed, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. They took their seats at the large round table, never putting their weapons down. The Hivari came next. They looked like giant insects with too many legs and eyes. Their leader, Zurmas, spoke for all of them at once because they shared one mind. Bioweapons grew from their bodies like living armor. Acid dripped from their claws onto the metal floor, making small holes. They clicked and buzzed as they moved to their section of the table. Grextor stomped into the room. The Torvan warlord was twice as tall as any human and covered in thick gray skin. His warhammer was so big that it made the ground shake with each step. He slammed it down next to his chair and the whole table jumped. His small red eyes looked around the room, searching for enemies to fight. The Nexari glided in without making any sound. They looked like living crystals that could change shape. Their bodies made soft music as they moved. But the weapons they carried were not peaceful. Resonance blades could make any living thing shake apart from the inside. Their leader, Krill Ixar, had killed enemies just by singing the right note. 8 other species filled the remaining seats. Each group brought guns, swords, energy weapons, and things that had no name but could kill in horrible ways. The room buzzed with the sound of charging weapons and clicking safety switches. Everyone watched everyone else. Then the human delegation arrived. Admiral Yoon Hana walked in wearing a simple blue uniform. She carried no weapons. Behind her came 3 other humans, also without any guns or swords. At the back of the group, a young man named Kang Minsu carried only a small tablet computer. He looked around the room with calm eyes, taking in every detail. The aliens stared. Silence fell over the war chamber for the first time since the meeting began. Veltaran stood up, his plasma spears crackling with angry energy. "What is this insult?" he roared. "The humans mock us by coming to War Council without weapons! Grextors!" Hammer hit the floor again. "Are they so weak they cannot even carry a blade? Do they think this is a game?" The Hivari clicked faster, their shared mind buzzing with confusion and anger. "The humans show no respect for warrior tradition." Zurmas spoke for all of them. "In War Council, all must come armed, or be seen as cowards." Krillixar's crystal body began to glow brighter. The musical sound it made turned sharp and dangerous. Perhaps they think their soft flesh is weapon enough? Shall we test this theory? Admiral Yoon Hana walked to the human section of the table without hurry. She sat down and folded her hands. "We follow our own protocols," she said in a clear voice. "Observe the proceedings, and you will understand." "Understand what?" Veltaran demanded. That humans are too scared to carry proper weapons? Kang Minsu took his seat and turned on his tablet. The screen glowed softly as he opened a new document. He began typing notes about what he saw, who sat where, what weapons they carried, how they moved, what they said. His fingers moved quickly but quietly across the screen. "The Void Swarm grows stronger every day," Admiral Yoon said. "3 systems have fallen. Billions are dead. We can argue about weapons, or we can plan how to save our people." Grextor slammed his fist on the table. "Easy words from someone who brings no steel to back them up. The human speaks truth about the enemy," said Commander Thexalar of the Zentauri. The blue-skinned aliens carried energy rifles that could shoot through solid rock. But truth means nothing without the power to act on it. Veltarin pointed one of his plasma spears at the humans. "In Korthak culture, only children and slaves enter War Council without weapons. Which are you?" The room grew tense. Several species began to charge their weapons, the air filled with the smell of ozone and heated metal. But Admiral Yoon did not move. She did not even look worried. Kang Minsu kept typing. He noted that the Korthak pointed their weapons first. He wrote down that the Torvin were ready to fight, but had not raised their hammer yet. He saw that the Nexari were glowing brighter, preparing their sonic attacks. The Hivari had moved closer together, which meant they were getting ready to release their bioweapons. "Watch and learn," Admiral Yoon said quietly. The war chief of the Sektar, a race that looked like walking stones, spoke up. "The humans are strange, but they fight well. Their ships helped us hold the Kepler system last month." "With weapons," Veltarin snapped. "In space, they use missiles and lasers like civilized beings. But here, in War Council, they show disrespect." Kang Minsu typed faster. He was recording every word, every reaction, every detail. His tablet showed pages of notes about how each species acted when they were angry or confused. He wrote down which ones were quick to anger and which ones stayed calm. He noted who stood with whom and who looked ready to fight their own allies. "The enemy comes," Admiral Yoon said. "While we argue about traditions, the Void Swarm moves closer to our worlds. My people have seen their ships. They adapt to everything we throw at them. They learn from every battle." "Then we hit them harder," Grextor growled. "Torvin warriors do not run from any enemy." "And if hitting harder does not work?" asked Dr. Zilnara of the healer caste. The tall, thin aliens carried no weapons at all, but they could make poison that killed in seconds. "Then we hit harder still," Grextor replied. Kang Minsu made another note. The Torvin only knew one way to fight. He had already guessed this, but now he was sure. The meeting continued. Each species wanted to fight the war in their own way. The Korthak wanted precise strikes against enemy weak points. The Torvin wanted massive attacks with all their forces. The Hivari wanted to overwhelm the enemy with countless small ships. The Nexari believed technology would win the war. As they argued, weapons stayed ready. Trust was nowhere to be found in the room. Each species watched the others as much as they planned against the Void Swarm. And through it all, Kang Minsu kept taking notes. He was learning everything about everyone, and nobody paid attention to the quiet human with no weapons. Director Lee Sumi sat in her office aboard the human ship, Peaceful Dawn. Through the large window, she could see Harmony Prime spinning slowly in space. Inside the station, the War Council was still meeting. But her mind was 50 years in the past, remembering how this strange tradition began. She touched a button on her desk. A hologram appeared showing the face of an old man in a military uniform. Computer, play file, Colonel Park Jiho, personal log, day 1. The hologram spoke in an old man's tired voice. Today I became the first human to attend an alien war council. I was not invited. I was ordered to go. The other species think we are weak. They call our weapons simple metal throwers and our ships slow metal boxes. But Admiral Chen wanted someone to watch and learn. So here I am. Lee Sumi knew this story by heart, but she played it again for the young intelligence officers in her team. They needed to understand why humans went to war councils without weapons. The first contact wars were different, she told them. Back then, we were new to space. The other species had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They had energy weapons that could destroy mountains. We had bullets and rockets. They laughed at us. The hologram continued. I entered the War Council chamber on Nexus Station. Every alien species brought weapons that could kill me in a second. I had a simple pistol on my belt, but it felt like carrying a toy. The Korthak war chief looked at my gun and made a noise. That sounded like laughter. Human brings metal thrower to real war, he said. Very amusing. Lieutenant Nam Jiwon, the youngest officer in the room, raised his hand. But why didn't Colonel Park bring better weapons? Didn't we have anything stronger? We did, Lee Sumi replied. But the aliens made the rules. They said human weapons were too simple for a real war council. Either we came unarmed, or we could not come at all. Admiral Chen decided that watching was better than staying away. The hologram showed Colonel Park's weathered face. The War Council was planning to fight the Zelthak Empire. The Zelthak had invaded 6 systems and were moving toward Earth space. Every species in the Council wanted to fight, but they all wanted to fight differently, and they all hated each other almost as much as they hated the enemy. Lee Sumi paused the recording. This is the important part. Watch carefully. The scene changed to show Colonel Park sitting at a large round table. Alien warriors surrounded him, all carrying weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Park had a simple notebook and a pen. He was writing quickly, his eyes moving from one species to another. The Korthak leader, Thakalon, wanted to use precision strikes. The recording continued. Hit their command ships first, he said. Cut off the head and the body dies. But the Torvan warlord Magthor disagreed. He wanted full assault, all ships, attacking at once. Weak strikes are for weak fighters, he roared. On the screen, alien voices rose in anger. The Torvan warlord stood up, his warhammer in his hands. The Korthak warriors pointed their plasma spears. Other species began to power up their own weapons. Then the Nexari got involved, Colonel Park's voice said. Yelandra claimed that both plans were stupid. She said technology would win the war, not brute force or clever tactics. The Nexari had built new ships with crystal weapons that could cut through any armor. The argument on screen grew louder. Weapons were drawn. The meeting room filled with the sound of charging energy and angry alien voices. What happened next? Asked Lieutenant Kim Do-yoon. Lee Sumi touched another button. The scene jumped forward. Now the alien delegates were fighting each other. Energy beams flew across the room. The Nexari leader, Yil Andra, had killed the Torvan diplomat with a sonic blade. Blue blood covered the floor. The War Council had become a war zone. Total breakdown, Lee Sumi said. 7 species walked out. 3 more refused to work with the others. The alliance fell apart before they could fight the real enemy. But Colonel Park kept taking notes, Lieutenant Nam observed. Exactly. Look at this. Lee Sumi zoomed in on the human in the recording. While aliens fought and died around him, Colonel Park sat calmly at the table. His pen never stopped moving. He wrote down who attacked first, who tried to make peace, who ran away, and who stood their ground. The recording jumped ahead again. Now, Colonel Park was back on his ship, talking to Admiral Chen through a video link. "The alliance is broken, sir," Park reported. "But I learned something important. Each species has patterns. The Torvin always attack straight ahead. The Korthak go for weak spots. The Nexari depend too much on their technology, and none of them trust each other enough to really work together." Admiral Chen's image leaned forward. "Can we use this information?" "Yes, sir. I know how they fight. I know how they think. And I know their weaknesses." Lee Sumi stopped the recording. 3 months later, human forces won the Battle of Rigel using Colonel Park's intelligence. We knew exactly how each alien fleet would move because Park had watched them argue about it. So we started going to war councils without weapons on. "Purpose?" Lieutenant Kim asked. "Not right away. At first, it was just because they wouldn't let us bring anything they considered a real weapon. But we noticed something interesting. When we carried guns, the aliens watched us like enemies. When we had no weapons, they ignored us. We became invisible." She started a new recording. This one showed Captain Moon Soyan at a war council 10 years later. The aliens were arguing again, but this time a human sat quietly in the corner, typing, on a computer tablet. "Captain Moon was the first to do it on purpose," Lee Sumi explained. "She left her weapons on her ship and came to the council with just a data pad. The aliens barely noticed her. They argued and shouted and planned their attacks, thinking the human was harmless. She recorded everything. The screen showed the results. Human ships had used the intelligence to win battle after battle. They knew which alien fleets would retreat first. They knew which ones would charge ahead without thinking. They knew who would betray their allies and who would stand firm. Over the years, it became our secret weapon," Lee Sumi continued. "Other species started asking for human observers at their war councils. They thought we were harmless. We were careful never to correct them." Lieutenant Nam looked confused. "But didn't they eventually figure it out?" "Some did. But by then they had seen the results. Mixed units with human observers performed much better than pure alien forces. The humans helped different species work together instead of fighting each other." Lee Sumi brought up a new file. It showed Admiral Yoon Hana, much younger, at her first War Council 15 years ago. "Admiral Yoon was there when the Galactic Council made it official," Lee Sumi said. "The Treaty of Neutral Waters, they called it. Humans would be allowed in all war councils, but we could never carry weapons. In exchange, we would serve as neutral observers and coordinators. They made it a law that we can't have weapons." Lieutenant Kim sounded surprised. "They thought they were limiting us." Lee Sumi smiled. "They had no idea they were giving us the greatest weapon of all, the ability to watch and learn while everyone else was busy fighting." The door to her office opened. Admiral Yoon Hana walked in looking tired. The War Council meeting had ended for the day. "How did it go?" Lee Sumi asked. "Same as always. They argue, they threaten each other, they wave their weapons around, and Kang Min-soo takes notes." Admiral Yoon sat down heavily. "Sometimes I think we're the only species that ever learned how to really listen." What's his assessment so far? 17 tactical weaknesses, 12 potential betrayal scenarios, and 3 major flaws in their defensive planning. Same as Colonel Park would have found, but Min-soo works faster. Lee Sumi nodded. The tradition continues. Admiral Yoon looked out the window at Harmony Prime. The funny thing is they still don't understand. They see a human without weapons and think we're weak. They never realize that the most dangerous weapon is the one they can't see. The mind, Lee Sumi agreed. Exactly. While they're busy showing off their plasma spears and sonic blades, we're learning everything about them. And when the real fighting starts, we'll know exactly how to win. The alarm bells on Harmony Prime rang out like screaming metal birds. Red lights flashed in the War Council chamber as an urgent message arrived. Commander Yexathul of the Communications Guild rushed into the room, his forearms shaking as he held the data pad. "The Torvan homeworld," he gasped. "It has fallen." Silence hit the room like a physical blow. Then chaos erupted. Warlord Grexthor roared so loud that the metal walls shook. His massive gray fists slammed on the table, making cracks appear in the thick surface. "Impossible. The Torvan defense fleet is the strongest in the galaxy. No enemy can break through our shields." Zurmas, speaking for all the Hivari, clicked rapidly. "The bioweapons we sent were powerful enough to destroy 3 Void Swarm ships. How did they fail?" "Because someone held back their forces," Grexthor snarled, his small red eyes fixed on the insect-like aliens. "The Hivari promised full support. But where were your deep space fighters when we needed them?" The Hivari collective mind buzzed with anger. "We sent what was agreed upon. If the Torvan rushed into battle without proper coordination, their defeat is their own fault." Velteran, the Korthak war chief, stood up slowly. His 4 plasma spears began to glow brighter. "Perhaps the Torvan fell because they trusted insects. With no honor. Hivari are known for their lies." "Careful, Scaleskin," Zurmas hissed. "Your people know nothing but small strikes and hiding. Real warriors attack with overwhelming force." Krillixar's crystal body began to sing. The sound was beautiful but deadly. "Both of you speak like children. Technology wins wars, not muscles or numbers. If the Torvan had used our resonance shields instead of their crude metal armor, they would still be alive. Your technology failed too." Grexthor grabbed his warhammer and pointed it at the Nexari. "Where were your crystal ships? Hiding behind an asteroid field?" The room temperature rose as more species joined the argument. The Zentauri powered up their energy rifles. The Sectars' stone-like bodies began to glow with internal heat. The healer caste stepped back, but their hands moved to hidden poison dispensers. Through it all, Kang Minsu sat quietly at the human table. His tablet screen glowed as he typed rapidly. He recorded every word, every gesture, every sign of which species was ready to attack and which ones were looking for escape routes. "You all failed," shouted Thexalar of the Zentauri. "The Void Swarm destroyed an entire world because none of you could work together." "Do not lecture us, energy wielder," Velteran spat. "Your ships were supposed to provide cover fire. Instead, they stayed at maximum range like cowards." The Korthak War. Chief raised 2 of his plasma spears. The air filled with the smell of burning ozone as the weapons charged to full power. Perhaps it is time to settle old scores, starting with the lying insects. "Bring your tiny spears, Scaleskin," Zurmas replied. Bioweapons erupted from the Hivari bodies like living armor. Acid dripped on the floor, eating through the metal. "We will show you what real weapons can do." Grexthor's warhammer hit the floor with a sound like thunder. "Any of you want to fight? The Torvan are ready." Krillixar's song became sharper, more dangerous. The crystal being's body pulsed with deadly light. "Your crude physical weapons mean nothing to us. We can kill you all with a single note." "Try it," snarled Commander Hextall of the War Wolves. The furry aliens had been quiet until now, but their claws extended as they prepared for battle. Admiral Yoon Hana stood up slowly. "The enemy is the Void Swarm, not each other." "Silence, human." Veltarin whirled around, pointing all 4 spears at her. "Your people bring no weapons and offer no strength. You have no voice in this." But Yoon Hana's words were lost in the growing violence. The Centauri fired first, sending a bright blue energy beam across the room. It missed the Korthok, but hit the wall, melting a hole 3 feet wide. Veltaran responded by throwing one of his plasma spears. It cut through the air like a burning arrow and struck a Hivari in the chest. The insect alien screamed and fell. Green blood pooled on the floor. Zurmas shrieked in rage and released a cloud of bioweapons into the air. The poisonous gas spread quickly, making other species cough and stumble. Grexthor charged forward with his warhammer raised high. "For the Torvin dead!" he roared. The massive weapon came down like a falling tree, barely missing Krillixar. The crystal being's counterattack was a pure note of destruction that shattered 3 chairs and cracked the table. More weapons fired. Energy beams crossed the room in all directions. Sonic attacks made the air itself scream. Bioweapons dissolved anything they touched. The War Council chamber became a battlefield. Kang Minsu activated his tablet's emergency recording mode. His fingers moved even faster across the screen as he documented everything. He noted that the Centauri shot first, but aimed poorly under pressure. The Korthak preferred thrown weapons over direct assault. The Hivari used poison gas when cornered. The Nexari attacked with sound when their crystal body was threatened. Most importantly, he observed their defensive patterns. The Centauri immediately sought cover behind their chairs. The Korthak spread out to avoid being grouped together. The Hivari moved closer to each other to combine their bioweapon clouds. The Nexari tried to position themselves where their sonic attacks could hit the most enemies. "Admiral," he said quietly to Yoon Hana, "we should leave." She nodded and touched a button on her collar. "Security, prepare emergency evacuation from the War Council chamber." As they moved toward the exit, Kang Minsu continued typing. He recorded which species tried to help their wounded and which ones left them behind. He noted who attempted to negotiate and who only wanted to fight. He saw that the healer caste tried to stop the violence while the war wolves seemed to enjoy it. A massive explosion shook the chamber as Grexthor's warhammer met Krillixar's resonance blade. The collision sent shock waves through the floor and ceiling. Lights flickered and went out in some sections. "This is exactly what happened 50 years ago," Admiral Yoon said as they reached the secure observation deck above the chamber. "And 50 years before that. They cannot stop fighting each other long enough to fight their real enemies." Through the reinforced windows, they watched the War Council tear itself apart. 3 species had already withdrawn their delegates and were heading for their ships. The Sectar tried to mediate but gave up when a stray energy beam nearly hit their leader. The Communications Guild hid under their table, desperately trying to call for security. "How many tactical patterns have you identified?" Admiral Yoon asked. Kang Minsu checked his tablet screen. 23 combat doctrines, 15 defensive strategies, and 9 retreat patterns. Also, I have complete data on weapon capabilities, reaction times, and psychological stress responses for all 12 species. And they have no idea you recorded any of it. No, ma'am. They were too busy fighting to notice one unarmed human taking notes. The fighting continued for another hour. When it finally stopped, the War Council chamber looked like a disaster zone. Burn marks covered the walls. Pools of various colored blood stained the floor. Several chairs had been completely destroyed. The large round table had a crack running down the middle. 5 species had withdrawn from the alliance completely. They gathered their wounded and left Harmony Prime without saying goodbye. 3 more species demanded territorial payments before they would continue fighting the Void Swarm. 2 others insisted on command authority over all other forces. The alliance was broken, and while it fell apart, the Void Swarm continued its advance toward the heart of the galaxy. Admiral Yoon Hana looked at the devastation below. The same pattern, over and over. They're so afraid of each other that they can't unite against their real enemy. But now we know exactly how they fight, Kang Minsu said, holding up his tablet. Every weakness, every strength, every tactical preference. When the time comes to put them back together, we'll know exactly how to do it. If there's still time, Admiral Yoon replied, watching the alien ships depart. The Void Swarm won't wait for us to figure this out. On his tablet screen, Kang Minsu opened a new file and began writing his report. He had learned something important today. The galaxy's species were powerful fighters, but they could not work together while they carried weapons. Trust was impossible. When everyone was armed and ready to kill, but there might be another way. A way that no one had tried before. A way that would require humans to do what they did best, remain calm while everyone else lost control. Fleet Admiral Kim Jamin stared at the massive holographic display in the war room of the human flagship. Red dots showed Void Swarm positions advancing across 3 different fronts. Blue dots represented Allied forces, but many of those dots were moving away from the battle lines instead of toward them. How many species have completely withdrawn? He asked. Commander Osoman checked her datapad. 5 have left the alliance entirely. 3 more are demanding impossible conditions before they'll fight. The Zentori want control of all energy weapons. The Sectar insist on commanding ground forces. The War Wolves refuse to take orders from anyone. And the Void Swarm? Moving faster than our projections. They've learned to counter every strategy the aliens have tried. When the Korthak use precision strikes, the Swarm adapts with better shields. When the Torvan charge with full force, the Swarm counters with overwhelming numbers. When the Nexari deploy advanced technology, the Swarm finds ways to turn it against them. Admiral Kim rubbed his tired eyes. The Third Galactic War had been going badly for months, but the collapse of the War Council made everything worse. What about our intelligence from the council meeting? Kang Minsu's report is complete, Commander O replied. He documented every tactical preference, every psychological weakness, every combat pattern of all 12 species. The data is incredibly detailed. Show me. The holographic display changed to show a complex chart. Each alien species was represented by a different color, with lines connecting their strengths and weaknesses. The problem is clear, Commander O explained. Every species fights the war they want to fight, not the war they need to fight. The Torvan want glorious battles. The Hivari want to overwhelm with numbers. The Korthak prefer surgical strikes. The Nexari trust only their technology. And the Void Swarm adapts to all of it. Exactly. But look at this. The display changed again, showing simulation results. When we put different species together in mixed units, their combined strengths can counter the swarm's adaptations. Korthak precision with Torvan power, Hivari numbers with Nexari technology. Admiral Kim leaned forward. But they can't work together. They're too busy watching each other for betrayal. That's where we come in. Commander O touched a control, and the display showed new simulations. These are test results from training exercises with volunteer mixed units. When human officers command these groups, performance improves by 60%. Not enough. But when humans serve as unarmed coordinators instead of armed commanders, performance improves by 180%. Admiral Kim studied the numbers carefully. Explain the difference. When humans carry weapons and give orders, the aliens treat us as another potential threat. They obey, but they also watch us for signs of betrayal. It creates stress and reduces trust. Commander O brought up a new chart. But when humans are unarmed and serve only as coordinators, something interesting happens. The aliens stop seeing us as a threat. We become invisible to their threat assessment instincts. So they focus on the real enemy instead of worrying about us. Exactly. Look at these combat recordings. The display showed footage from a recent training exercise. A mixed unit of Korthak, Hivari, and Zentauri fought against simulated Void Swarm forces. A human coordinator sat in an unarmed observation pod, giving suggestions through a communication link. The coordinator has no authority to give orders, Commander O explained. She can only offer tactical advice and help the different species communicate with each other. But watch the results. In the recording, the alien forces worked together smoothly. The Korthak identified weak points in enemy formations. The Hivari swarmed those positions with small, fast ships. The Zentauri provided covering fire with their energy weapons. The human coordinator helped them time their attacks perfectly. Remarkable, Admiral Kim said. They're actually cooperating because they don't see the human as competition. She's not trying to command them or take credit for victories. She's just helping them do what they already do best. The door to the war room opened. Admiral Yoon Hana entered, followed by Kang Minsu. Both looked tired from the long journey back from Harmony Prime. Admiral, Kim said. Perfect timing. We're discussing Commander O's proposal for mixed units with human coordinators. It could work, Admiral Yoon said, but we'd need volunteers, both human and alien. The aliens will never agree to it, Kang Minsu said quietly. They don't trust each other enough to fight in mixed units, and they definitely don't trust humans to coordinate anything. Actually, Commander O smiled, some of them already have. She activated a new display showing a star map. Several systems were marked with green dots. These are positions where mixed units are already operating. The species involved don't know they're part of an experiment. They think they're just getting human observers to help with communication. How did you arrange that? Admiral Yoon asked. Very carefully. We started with species that already had positive experiences with human coordinators. The healer caste has been working with human medical officers for years. Some Zentauri commanders remember how well humans performed as technical advisors. General Lim Taewon appeared on the main communication screen. His image showed him standing on the bridge of a ship in deep space. Admiral Kim, we've completed the field tests you requested. Report, General. 3 mixed units operating in the outer colonies for the past 2 weeks. Each unit has Korthak heavy assault troops, Hivari scouts, and Nexari technical specialists. Human coordinators provide tactical support from unarmed observer positions. The display showed detailed battle reports. Results are beyond our best projections. The mixed units have engaged Void Swarm forces 12 times. 11 victories, 1 tactical withdrawal, 0 defeats. Admiral Kim studied the data. Casualties? 40% lower than pure species units. The different alien strengths complement. each other perfectly when properly coordinated. And the aliens' reaction to human coordinators? General Lim smiled. They love it. The Korthaks say humans help them find better targets. The Hivari appreciate having someone coordinate their swarm attacks. The Nexari like having technical discussions with people who understand their equipment. Because we're not competing with them, Kang Minsu observed. We're helping them be better at what they already do. Commander O brought up the final simulation. If we can expand this system to full fleet operations, we could change the entire war. Imagine, every mixed unit with a human coordinator, every alien species fighting alongside others, with humans helping them communicate and coordinate. The Void Swarm adapts to single-species tactics, Admiral Yoon said. But mixed units using multiple strategies at once? They might not be able to counter that. There's something else, General Lim added. The mixed units are developing new tactics that no pure species force ever discovered. When you combine Korthak precision with Hivari numbers and Nexari technology, with human coordination tying it, all together, you get strategies that are completely unpredictable. Admiral Kim walked to the main display and studied the projections. How many human coordinators would we need? Every ship, every squadron, every major unit, Commander O replied. Maybe 3,000 volunteers. That's a lot of people, too. Put in unarmed observer positions in active combat zones. Yes, sir. But consider the alternative. If we keep fighting the way we are now, with every species using their own tactics, the Void Swarm will destroy us all within 6 months. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the choice. Finally, Admiral Kim spoke. Draft the proposal. I want detailed plans for mixed unit organization, human coordinator training, and diplomatic approaches to convince the remaining allied species to participate. Sir, Kang Minsu said, what if the aliens figure out what we're really doing? What if they realize that unarmed human coordinators are actually the most effective commanders in the galaxy? Admiral Kim smiled. Then we'll have proven something important. The best way to lead isn't to carry the biggest weapon. It's to help others use their weapons more effectively. He turned back to the holographic display showing Void Swarm positions. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is put down your gun and pick up a communication device. Let's see if the galaxy is ready to learn that lesson. Lieutenant Cho Yuna floated in her observation pod, watching the largest space battle in galactic history unfold around her. The Centaurus sector blazed with weapons fire as Allied fleets engaged the main Void Swarm force. But this time was different. This time, the Allies were winning. Her pod had no weapons, no shields, no armor. Just communication equipment, tactical sensors, and a very comfortable chair. 3 different alien species flew in formation around her pod, and somehow she was the most important person in the unit. Korthak leader Thekmol, this is Coordinator Cho, she spoke into her headset. Enemy formation Delta 7 is showing weak points at grid references 44 Alpha and 77 Beta. The reply came in the Korthak's clicking language, translated by her computer. Acknowledged, Coordinator. Precision strike teams moving to target weak points. Hivari Swarm Leader Vextar, prepare to exploit the openings when Korthak strikes. Connect. Use pattern Whisper 7 from yesterday's planning session. Understanding, Coordinator Cho. Swarm forces ready to flow through gaps like water through cracks. Nexari Technical Specialist Quinn Ara. Can you boost the Korthak targeting systems by 15%? They need better accuracy at this range. Already. Done, Coordinator. Our crystal matrices are enhancing their weapon guidance systems. Accuracy improved by 18%. Cho Yuna smiled as she watched her mixed unit work together like parts of a perfect machine. The Korthak struck with surgical precision. The Hivari poured through the gaps with thousands of small ships. The Nexari provided technical support that made everyone more effective. And none of them worried about what the others might do, because they trusted their human coordinator to help them succeed. The same scene was playing out across the entire battle zone. 300 mixed units, each with a human coordinator in an unarmed pod, were systematically dismantling void swarm formations that had seemed invincible just months ago. "All coordinators, this is Admiral Yoon Hana," came the voice over the command channel. "Enemy superformation approaching from Galactic South. This is their main force. All units prepare for maximum coordination." Through her pod's sensors, Cho Yuna saw them coming. Void swarm ships the size of moons, surrounded by clouds of smaller vessels. Dark energy weapons that could destroy planets. The enemy force that had conquered half the galaxy was making its final push. "Coordinator Cho," Admiral Yoon's voice continued, "your unit is designated as Alpha Strike. You'll lead the initial assault." "Understood, Admiral." Cho Yuna took a deep breath and opened channels to all the fleet commanders around her. "All ships, this is your coordinator. We've trained for this moment. Remember, we're not just three different species fighting together. We're something new, something the Void Swarm has never faced before." She looked at her tactical display, studying the approaching enemy formation. The Void Swarm's adaptive algorithms had learned to counter every alien tactic. Korthak precision, Torvan power, Hivari numbers, Nexari technology. The enemy had solutions for all of them, but they had never faced all of them working together. "Korthak units, begin your approach from angle 7-7. Make them think you're planning a standard precision assault. Hivari swarms, hold position but prepare for rapid deployment. Nexari ships, power up your crystal arrays but keep them masked." Her mixed unit moved into position. The Void Swarm responded exactly as expected, shifting their formations to counter the perceived Korthak precision strike. "Now," Cho Yuna said, calmly, "Korthak forces, change to angle 9-2 and hit their forward shields. Hivari swarms, deploy through the confusion using Pattern Storm River. Nexari arrays, full power to disrupt their adaptive systems." The battle erupted around her pod. Korthak plasma spears cut through Void Swarm defenses that had been positioned to stop a different kind of attack. Hivari bioships swarmed through the chaos, striking from directions the enemy hadn't predicted. Nexari crystal weapons disrupted the Void Swarm's ability to adapt to the changing tactics. "Beautiful," Cho Yuna whispered, watching the coordination unfold. "They can't counter what they can't predict." Across the battle zone, other coordinators were achieving similar successes. The Void Swarm's adaptive algorithms, designed to learn from single-species tactics, couldn't keep up with the constant changes in mixed-unit strategies. "Coordinator Cho, this is impressive," came Thekmol's voice. "Korthak have never achieved such precision in battle. This is because human helps us see enemy from new angles," added Vextar. "Hivari swarms have never moved with such perfect timing. Our technology functions better when combined with others," Quinara observed. "The human coordinator helps us understand how to merge our capabilities." Cho Yuna continued directing the battle, but part of her attention was on the larger tactical picture. Human coordinators across the fleet were sharing information, creating a network of intelligence that no single species had ever achieved. "All coordinators," Admiral Yoon's voice came over the command channel, "prepare for final phase. Enemy is attempting to retreat to dark space." "Negative, Admiral," replied Coordinator Park Jun-soo from the Beta Strike Force. "My mixed unit can..." Cut off their escape route. Requesting permission to pursue. Granted. All units, begin pursuit pattern Cascade Alpha. The final phase of the battle lasted 3 hours. Mixed units coordinated by humans pursued the retreating Void Swarm across 2 star systems. When the enemy tried to make a stand at the edge of dark space, they found themselves surrounded by alien forces working together with impossible precision. The last Void Swarm ship was destroyed at 1432 Galactic Standard Time. The war was over. 6 months later, Cho Yuna stood in the Great Assembly Hall of New Harmony Station. Representatives from 47 different species had gathered to sign the Treaty of Unified Defense. The document established new principles for galactic cooperation. Article 7 read, "Human coordinators shall serve in all mixed-species military operations. These coordinators shall remain unarmed during combat operations, serving only to facilitate communication and tactical coordination between allied forces." Ambassador Kang Minsu, now promoted after his intelligence work had helped save the galaxy, read the treaty aloud to the assembled delegates. "Furthermore," he continued, "this treaty recognizes that true strength in warfare comes not from the power of individual weapons, but from the ability of different peoples to work together toward common goals." Veltaran, the Korthak war chief, stood to address the assembly. "The Korthak wish to make statement. We have fought wars for 1,000 cycles. Always we carried weapons to show strength. Always we watched others for signs of betrayal. But humans taught us different way." He gestured toward the human delegation. "Humans come to battle with no weapons, only with desire to help others fight better. This is true courage. This is real strength." Zurmas clicked in agreement for the Hivari Collective. "The insect nations agree. Human coordinators helped us discover tactics we never imagined. They made us stronger by making us work together." Even Grexthor, the massive Torvan warlord, nodded his great head. "Torvan respect strength above all. For long time we thought strength meant biggest hammer, loudest roar. Now we know greatest strength is making others stronger." Admiral Yoon Hana stood to respond. "The Human Federation accepts this responsibility. Our people will continue to serve as coordinators and observers, helping all species work together for the defense of peace." She paused, looking around the assembly hall. "But we want everyone to understand. We're not weak because we carry no weapons. We're not helpless because we cannot fight alone. We have something that no weapon can provide: the ability to help others become their best selves." As the ceremony continued, Cho Yuna thought about the strange journey that had brought them all here. Humans had started as the weakest species in the galaxy, with simple weapons and slow ships. Other races had laughed at them, called them primitive. But humans had discovered something that all the advanced alien civilizations had missed. The most powerful weapon wasn't plasma spears or sonic blades or bioweapons. It wasn't energy shields, or crystal technology or adaptive algorithms. The most powerful weapon was trust, and trust could only exist when people put down their guns and opened their hands to help each other. "The signing is complete," Ambassador Kang announced. "Let this mark the beginning of a new age of cooperation among all peoples of the galaxy." As the delegates began to celebrate, Cho Yuna walked to a viewing window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human coordinators were serving with alien crews, helping different species work together on exploration missions, trade expeditions, and peaceful research, all of them unarmed, all of them essential. She smiled, remembering something Admiral Yoon had said during her coordinator training. Sometimes the greatest victory comes from having the courage to not fight at all. The war was over. The peace was just beginning. And humans would be there to help everyone learn how to build it together.